Hello and welcome to Welcome Home Radio. The waters in the mortgage industry can be pretty muddy, whether it's investing, leasing, renting, home insurance, or myths and misconceptions. Welcome Home Radio has the answers for you, the consumer. And now, to help you make the right home buying decision for you and your family, here are your hosts.
And welcome to Welcome Home Radio, where real estate, lending, and learning come together. This is your mortgage market update for October 21st. Stocks are trading at unchanged levels and mortgage bonds are lowering. This is impacting interest rates that are rising. They are still 1% year over year lower. Earlier this morning, the MBA released their mortgage application data for the last week, and showing overall application volume is down again by 0.6%. Refis were flat and purchases are down by 2%. The big news of the day is housing starts. The headline figure shows us 2% up, which is lower than expected. This puts our year over year housing starts up about 11%. Now this has included multifamily. And if you were to just have single family starts, we are up 22% year over year. This is a very strong report, very strong for the residential real estate market. Permits, which is a good future indicator of starts, they are up 8% in single family units. An interesting point, new homes sold but not started yet are up 69%, which shows how strong the demand has been. The strong demand and short supply make for an imbalance that will support home prices remaining high. Even though there's optimism that a stimulus package is coming, the markets are considering risk factors and playing the wait and see approach until the end of the election. Hey, today is a wonderful show. It's very close to me and about 1.5 million other veterans here in Texas. What are the VA loan benefits? And of course, joining me today is, of course, Alan Pace with Fathom Realty, and also the son of a U.S. Naval veteran. Is that correct, Alan?
That is correct. My dad is a veteran of World War II.
Al, it's awesome. We had a great chat about your dad, and I am thrilled that the one of the true benefits here in Texas is that there is housing for veterans as they age and cannot support themselves. They get the support services. It's a great benefit there, and I think you're looking at Bonham, if I'm not, Bonham, Texas. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean it's it's time, and we are looking at Bonham, and it looks like a good choice. It looks like a good match for my dad. It's close to me and some other relatives, and they have.
I'll be up there with him soon, I think. I mean, and that's where I'm planning on going. So. We can start playing some poker up there.
Well, he's got 30 years on you, so I hope it takes you a while to get there.
Who knows?
Like I said, we need to go out and have a cold one before you go.
Well, I think it was very exciting after our conversation to really thrash out what benefits are in a home VA loan mortgage situation, why they are very beneficial, but also some cons toward them. I see sometimes in the rankings that VA loans sometimes are not utilized or not desired for a special listing. I'd like to further discuss that with you, but we do want to encourage everyone listening in, ask your questions. If you're a veteran, thank you again for your service. We so greatly appreciate it. And again, we average right here in Texas about 1.5 million veterans, and it's growing 100,000 a year. So we see more and more folks coming to Texas for the veterans benefit. So we'll kind of talk about the VA loan itself, but also the benefits here in Texas for veterans. So right off the bat, as we talk about eligible home buyers with a VA loan, right off the bat, the biggest help is that there is no down payment required. It's not geographically limited. There is no down payment. And that is a huge benefit right off the bat. How many people have you talked to that are saying I can't raise the 3.5% or 5% or even 10 or 20 to buy a home. They have to wait a little bit until they have those resources. Is that true?
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest misnomer in real estate in buying a home is the down payment. For years, it was that magical 20% number. You know, people's parents and grandparents, that's where they
Yeah.
heard it. And then it was just all the talk on radio and television and save for that down payment, you know, blah, blah, blah. So what really makes a human being feel well and good is that I've done everything right, except I don't have a lot of money for a down payment. My credit's good. I live responsibly. You know, everything's going good with raising my kids and, you know, but we do not have 20% down to buy a $250,000 house. Well, guess what? About 80% of America doesn't have that. And that's the truth.
Very true.
So, you know, I love the fact that our veterans, you know, like my dad who served in World War II, he has a perfect opportunity. He's had a perfect opportunity during his life to use that VA benefit and understand what it means. It really means no down payment. And
Exactly.
does that mean you don't have to have a little bit of money? No, but it means you don't have to have, you know, 3.5% for an FHA, 3 to 10% to 20% for conventional, you know, or any other kind of loan that, you know, a lender like you, Blair, might build for somebody, you know, any kind of type of loan. But the VA loan is simply a well done. I love it. I love it when a vet can buy a home.
I totally do. I am right there with you. It is a true benefit of those that have served our country, and it's well earned. And unfortunately, I think the education on it is not there for veterans. They don't understand the benefit. And you were talking, one of the things I still hear now, even the small regional banks out in the smaller towns, hey, they require 20% down. Don't come talk to me if you don't have 20% down. Where this program allows somebody as a veteran to walk in and have a 100% financed home for them. That doesn't mean we don't have closing costs. We have some, but we don't have that major bulk, which is that, as you said, 3.5% to 5% at minimum dealing with FHA or conventional. So again, no down payment. But here's the second thing. In conventional, if you're doing 3% or 5 or 10, you're still going to have what's called PMI. And FHA, you're still going to have MIP.
Before you go any further, explain what that means.
Private mortgage insurance is when you do not come with the amount of 20% in a conventional world, a conforming loan limit. They require what's called PMI, private mortgage insurance. And what that does, it insures because you don't have enough skin in the game to purchase the home. It's insurance for the lender to make sure that if you default, that loan is backed up by an insurance program, just like FHA is backed up. Mortgage insurance premium, MIP, is the same thing. So the opportunity here is that you were able to get into a mortgage, but you still have to pay some insurance premium to insure that loan program.
And let's make sure that the layman knows that even with that PMI payment tacked onto your mortgage payment and your tax payment and all that, it's part of your mortgage payment every month. Even with that, your monthly payment a lot of times is less than what you're paying to rent a home. And people need to know that, and they don't. And rents are very high right now. Rents are very high. Landlords are doing well. The rental market is on fire, and people that rent homes, a lot of them could buy. They just don't know they could. And it's easy. Just make the payment, make the payment, make the payment. Before you know it, they've been there 2 years. And, you know, if you choose to rent and everything's working great, then good. I just want people to be happy.
Sure.
But you need to know that even with the VA loan and with the PMI and the tax and all the stuff you pay in a payment, it's still less per month than your rent payment, and you're building equity. And
well, I want to make sure I heard you say something as I was continuing what PMI. There is no MIP PMI payment in a VA loan. There is a one-time funding fee loan, and this is 100% backed by the VA. And that's why we go through all of the certificate of eligibility. A lot of things are done early to prove that this veteran has this benefit, but there is no monthly mortgage insurance premium payment consolidated in with your escrows, your taxes, your insurance. And it's a great, great benefit. It cuts your cost monthly wise, so it allows veterans to get into a mortgage, get into a home, as opposed to renting. And that is such a challenge, especially around military bases where these men work and women work. They want something close to work, but sometimes renting is the only way they can do that. They're not able to buy locally. But that is the benefit of this mortgage. Also, closing costs. Closing costs are limited up to 4%. I mean, there is limited closing costs. There's one key thing, which is termite inspection. The veteran cannot pay for. It either has to be the seller, the realtor, or what tends to happen, the lender pays for these things, but it's required to be a VA mortgage, but it is not allowed for the veteran to pay for. So there's limited buyer's closing cost, and a lot of things have to be seller paid and or others paid. So this loan program, again, it leans toward the veteran. The hardest thing right now, I just redoing a veteran's mortgage, the VA loan, and let's talk about this real quick. The VA appraisal, the home he was trying to buy would not pass appraisal. So we have to convert the VA loan to a conventional. And that's going to require some down payment. That's going to require some changes. But because of the appraisal being so strong, having to be so secure, and the home is ready for the veteran to live in, there can't be any negotiations of a home being repaired afterwards or a room not being completed. Where a conventional allows that negotiations for you guys, that is one of the things that's not allowed. Is that correct?
If I can ask, what was the issue there?
There were two things. There was one, a room uncompleted, and then there was some window situation that have to be renegotiated, and the seller is not willing to do some things, and the VA, of course, would not have passed that appraisal. So the bottom line is either they walk away or they convert to a conventional mortgage, and they do have the ability, but this is one of the benefits. It's always in favor of the veteran. They try to protect them. Okay.
Yeah.
And one of a huge benefit, huge with the VA mortgage is the interest rates. They tend to be lower on the VA purchases, much more than a conventional FHA or even USDA. The interest rates tend to be anywhere from 1/8 to 3/8 of a point better. So just depending on things, lower interest rates on these types of mortgages go a long way, and especially in appreciation of the home and amortization of the whole loan, it tends to get better, hopefully long term in these. No prepayment penalty. How many times do people ask in a mortgage that they're trying to get, or they get, is there a prepayment penalty? And they don't know that if you pay it early, there might be a penalty to pay. So this is a challenge. And with the VA mortgage, there is no prepayment penalty. Hello, David. Do you see high percentage of sellers not accepting VA finance? That's a great question to ask. One that I think, Alan, what do you think as a listing agent? Do you see VA being, what is the selection? Of course, cash is king. It's always the priority, I would think. But then do you see conventional, FHA, the VA in that order, or do you see something different?
Well, obviously, if you're the listing agent, your sole job is to represent the seller and the seller's best interest. And some of the things you talked about were the tough appraisal of a VA appraisal. And you can clarify right now for us, that appraisal actually stays with that home for how long?
On the VA side,
Yes.
that appraisal will stay there for 6 months, but again, it does not limit a change like if we go to conventional.
Okay, who has access to that appraisal?
Only the veteran who paid for it.
Okay, so basically what I think what a lot of realtors do and to take care of their clients is, first off, we're only talking if we get multiple offers, then you're comparing. But if you got one offer and it's from a veteran, a VA loan, I got no issues with that at all. I really don't. Because as a listing agent, I know I don't have foundation issues. I know my windows work. I know the roof is good. I know the AC is good. So I know the major things that an appraiser is gonna go, Blair, look, man, we shouldn't be lending on this because there's issues.
Yeah.
So as a listing agent, ahead of time. So yeah. Now, if you have issues with a home that you're listing, and David does, and I do, and Tim, and a lot of us do. So we just flat out tell a realtor going to make an offer, this home won't qualify for VA. It's got issues. Okay, we need an investor, cash, or convention. We don't, FHA and VA is going to be tough. So everything's different. Now in a multiple offer situation, on a $400,000 house or something, and you get, different offers, and you go over every offer with your seller, and you give them the features and benefits of what this particular loan means. So if I have a conventional offer for a $400,000 house with $80,000 down, oh yeah, ding, 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 I'm digging that. And my seller, I'm going to go, look, money in the game, just like you said earlier. If there's an issue with appraisal, we have, it looks like there's the means here to do some, to negotiate. We have a seller that has some, a buyer that has money. So yeah, of course, that's great. On the other hand, if you get a VA, FHA offer against those type offers, then yeah, it can be a little tougher. An agent will direct their client towards what's best for that seller.
Sure.
Now, that's just kind of it in a nutshell.
Well, and it's a great question, David. How you prioritize those, and normally that's out on the listing, the priority scales. You put those out when you present the home. Is that not correct?
Well, you have an option. You can mark boxes in the listing on the MLS and say, and realtors appreciate it because you got a lot of realtors that are new. They don't know. They just think, hey, it's cheap and it's under market and perfect. Well, not really. If it doesn't say VA or FHA on there, then probably an experienced realtor is going to call and ask questions. And that's what you want. You want to open a dialogue. So it doesn't mean the home won't, but generally it might not. Hey, Mr.
No
President.
headphones, nothing. What's up with this? Look at him smacking his lips and everything.
I'm faking it today. I'm acting like a regular person.
There you go. Well,
Man, a purple straw. He must have money.
And 2 cups. I got a coffee and a water.
oh
There you
wow.
go. I'll drink to that.
Well, Tom, as you know, we're talking about VA loan benefits as well as benefits to veterans here in Texas. We've gotten down through no prepayment penalty. I think one of the strong benefits of the VA mortgage is the 2 refi options that are out there. And one of them is limited here in Texas, but again, the VA IRRRL refinance rate and term is very quick, very easy, very slick. Why don't you help our listeners understand that benefit and why that's a great value to them?
Well, IRRRLs have always been really good, and they've been around forever. So any of our veterans out there listening today and people that want to help veterans, it provides that as long as they've been making their payment on time for the last 12 months, we can take their current loan amount we can take the cost of their loan, and as long as we can show net tangible benefit, which you and I probably can have a little bit more discussion about, but as long as we can show that there's a net tangible benefit for the veteran, we can roll in all those costs and basically give them a new loan at a new interest rate, the lower interest rate that would be available. And again, for veterans, I know that this was one of the things. I wish all loans were this way, simply because, I mean, if it's to your benefit, why shouldn't the investor give you something that makes it easier for you to make your payments? Now, net benefits, of course, if you're a veteran and you want to go to a shorter term loan, the problem you run into with shorter term loans is that you're going to have, with the shorter term loan, you're going to have to prove that it's still a net tangible benefit, and that may make the payment go up. So if the payment goes up, then VA says, well, we've got some restrictions on that. So they kind of haul that in to make sure. And going to a 15-year loan, it shows, statistically speaking, that if you get a 15-year loan, there's less probability of you going into default, and that your going into default drops by about 75%.
Wow. So I would think they would open that door more readily for people, but again, proving that net tangible benefit and the 36-month payback minimum, I mean, that's a part of that whole program. Sometimes veterans are not able to, depending on the situation they're in, to gain a net tangible benefit and to be able to prove that in a 36-month period. Is that correct?
Those would be the combining factors that really come into play. And I understand, of course, VA wanting to, protect a veteran, but they wouldn't do those types of alterations unless it was to them a substantial benefit. Typically, I mean, it's hard for us as salespeople to pressure somebody into taking a new payment unless it really did heartily provide some type of opportunity for them to improve their current payment situation.
Sure.
Blair, real quick, David's question about UC sellers not accepting VA. I think we need to cover the other side of it. If you're a buyer agent representing a veteran, that creates some real opportunity for an experienced realtor. You need to understand a veteran's story. Where did they serve? How did they serve? And I tell you, it makes a real difference when you're presenting an offer. If I'm up against an FHA loan or even a conventional loan, and I'm talking on behalf of my veteran, there's a lot of stuff in there that you can talk about, you can put in writing on an email, and it makes a difference. I have actually seen where a veteran seller took a buyer's offer because he was a veteran. And it wasn't necessarily the right choice financially, risk-wise, that is. So I've seen that happen, and I think buyer agents, of which many watch this show, I think they know what I'm talking about. When you represent a military veteran, my gosh, you tell that story, just like I'm telling my dad's story to the home that we're going to. So they all have their stories, men and women, and they're worth sharing when they're making the biggest purchase of their life. It's an amazing tool, and I think people forget that.
I think that's true, very true. Now, one of the things about the refinance here in Texas, Tom, is Texas does not allow a cash out VA refi. Would you help our listeners understand that and why that is, so that, again, there is a benefit here? Because several veterans, hey, they have the equity, they want to maybe take it out. They're not going to be able to use their VA benefit to do that.
Well, and the underlying understanding here is, and maybe one of the reasons we bring this up so much, is that in 49 other states in the United States, veterans may have owned a home there. They may have gone along and said, I need to do some improvements, or I need to pay for my kids' college. And they can borrow in all those 49 other states up to 100% of their value. They can take all the money and equity they have out of their house and recreate a new loan and take out that difference between what it took to pay off the old loan. In Texas, we have our home equity laws that have been around since 1997, and we were the last state to add these and allow these. VA, FHA, USDA, all government loans, the entities that are behind those, HUD and the Department of Veterans Affairs, have said Texas is just too screwy for us to be able to allow that. And maybe rightfully so, 49 other states in the U.S., they can do it. There's again, the background really goes to our homestead property laws. And the homestead property laws here in Texas are some of the, they're some of the most strenuous in the United States. They're the most protective of a borrower and a homeowner in the United States. As a matter of fact, on the back of your license plate, it should say across the top, "Don't mess with Texas." And down below, it should say, "Come to Texas to have a bankruptcy." I mean, we are the state where we protect your money and your properties as more stringently than any place else. And FHA and VA realize that and have never been a participant in cash out lending here in Texas. And I can't see them anytime in the near future doing that either.
Okay. Well, listen, Tim Russell, we appreciate you joining, asking a great question. I'm going to share real quick, a quick story here, Tim, about a good friend of mine. In fact, it's a good friend of Alan's who introduced that moved from California to Texas. His name is Matt Green, Navy veteran, 100% disabled. And he said, I just got back from San Diego this past weekend and got some time with him and his wife, Dottie. And he was talking and sharing with me. He says, "Blair, I had 4 states I was looking at. And I was really trying to decide where we wanted to move to leave California. We're so tired of the taxation, the laws governing gun ownership, ammunition purchasing, all of these things. But when I hit Texas and found out about the 100% disabled veteran benefit, it was over. There was no more decision. I'm coming to Texas." And Tim, you bring up a great value to 100% disabled veterans. You pay 0 property tax on your home. That is a huge benefit. Myself being 90% disabled, I still pay property tax. I still pay a large portion. But if I was to ever reach that 100% disability, I would get to pay 0 property tax. So literally, you're in a state, and Tom, if you can mute your mic at least, my goodness, brother. If you can have the benefit of no state income tax and also not have to pay property tax, that is a huge value. And how does that work? Basically, you prove it in the mortgage. You bring your DD-214 certificate of eligibility and your disability rating document, and I'm able to input that into the mortgage, where at closing, that will be certified as a home. And then you go file it with the local county CAD, County Appraisal District. You go there, you take your documentation, you file it, and they will stamp it 100% disabled veteran and not have to pay any property tax. Won't even be escrowed in your mortgage to pay it. Did I explain that right, Tom?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
And I've been through the process, so I kind of understand it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that explanation, because I'm like Tim and David. You know, we don't know everything about the lending part of it, but this show has brought me so much information about the lending aspect of things. It's really helped me perform out in the field. And I still am a realtor that stays in my own lane. I'm a realtor. I'm not the lender, and I'm not the appraiser, and I'm not the title company. But when you're representing a veteran, I think it's really important to understand these things. Yes. And I think a lot of realtors don't. And it's a great question Tim asked. And we've got another one.
Now, Tim, I'm not understanding the term of the loan. It can be a 15, it can be a 30. It does not matter what the term is. Once you go to the county appraisal district and you have this as your primary residence, and you have established that, the county appraisal, you file your disability rating with them. That is on there until that home is sold into another name. That tax rating is there and it won't change. So again, a great benefit for 100% disabled veterans. Tremendous. I mean, for me, that would save me in excess of $9,000 a year.
And that's a big deal in Texas. Wow.
It is huge. I mean, Matt is loving it just for his home over in Grapevine. And, he goes, I was done. Hopefully that answers your question, Tim. Please call me if you have any other questions. Email me. Be glad to visit with you on it. But great question on that, because it is a huge benefit. And I'm looking at the numbers right now, just veteran statistics here. 1.5 million veterans in Texas, and median household income at 65,000. But the bottom line is, in home ownership, we're sitting right around 34%. 34% of 1.5 million veterans are owning a home. That means we've got veterans out there that either don't know their benefit, may not be able to. Now there's some that are, homeless, unemployed, I guess, in that sense, or needing help. That's why Bonham and 7 other locations here in Texas provide home services for veterans in need like that. So one of the other big things, we do pay a funding fee, just like FHA. We pay into a program to be a part, and that funding fee allows you to participate. Now, if you're putting some money down, we can lower that funding fee. And a lot of lenders don't even know that if you put 5% down, your 2.3% first time use interest on your funding can go down to 1.65. If you put 10% down, it can go down to 1.4. Or if you're a disabled veteran, you pay 0 funding fee, whether it's your first use or as it goes up in your second, third, and fourth uses of the program, you pay 0. A huge benefit. Tom, wouldn't you agree, in the financing of a home, that funding fee at second use at 3.6 is a lot of money, and having that benefit of not having to pay. Why do you think the VA does that?
Well, again, VA is very much geared towards, recognizing those people who have given of themselves when they've been in the service. And this applies to anybody with a service-connected disability. So I do want to point that out, that if you came back from serving in Afghanistan and were working on the table saw and accidentally cut off 3 fingers, as my woodshop teacher had done, not that he had been in Afghanistan, I think he was actually in Vietnam. But if that happens, that's not a service-connected disability. So
you have to have a disability rating from the VA. The
right.
VA knows you.
And all it has to be is at least 1%. So they round up to 10%.
Yeah.
And to answer your question though specifically, VA does see these sacrifices people have made and have the appropriate or have Congress appropriately addresses this when they pass some of the statutes that go into the law and into the lending situation, saying that this is an additional benny from having been wounded or having had some type of disability created because of it.
Yes. And so we want to make sure you understand that funding fee for disabled veterans is 0, just like the 100% disabled veteran taxes here in Texas is a huge benefit. You save a good bit of money. If you take 2.6 or 3.6 or 2.3 interest on that initial funding, that's a lot of money depending on the size and the amount of the home, especially with the $1 million limit now. I mean, I haven't seen many veterans buying up to $1 million, but they are buying $600,000, $700,000, and $800,000 homes. And that usage, that 2.3 or 3.6 can be a lot of money saved. So wanted to make sure you understood. Now, this is not a one-time use either. This is not, hey, I've used my benefit, I never get it again. If you've paid off that mortgage, you've sold that home, or you paid it off, your benefit can be reinstated. Therefore, you can use it a second, a third, a fourth time. I have an investor that does everything. He turns his personal home into an investment property, and then he uses his VA benefit to go buy his next home. He moves into it, lives in it for a little bit, and then turns it into an investment property and does the same thing each time. He gets rid of it. So he's able to use his VA benefit in purchasing his primary property. There is no investment purchasing on a VA loan. It is for your primary property, but you can use it multiple times once that loan is closed and or paid off. Did I make that sense? Does anything you want to add to that?
Well, and again, I just want to make sure our listeners are understanding he's not buying with VA to create a bunch of huge portfolio through the VA. He's buying the property and then he's properly dispensing with the VA mortgage and paying it off, like you said, so he could buy another one. And so it's a great tool as long as you're willing to live in that primarily when you first start off, to use it again and again, and then, like you said, pay it off, refinance it with a conventional loan, whatever it might be.
Yes. And so it's a great property. Now, one of the things, and Tom, I'm so glad you're here to explain this because I struggle a little bit about this. A VA mortgage is an assumable mortgage.
It is.
And would you help our listeners understand that? I mean, what the approvals are required? Why would somebody be looking for an assumable? All of these solutions, but they're used, again, if you're buying around a military base, you want to maintain that home ownership, or you're trying to sell it and you allow a benefit to somebody. Talk to us about assumable mortgage benefit here.
Well, first off, just the basis of assumable means that the current payment, the current amount that's on that loan can be assumed and you can start paying on it if the loan is assumable. And assumable in this case extends to somebody in the general public. So I don't have to be a veteran to assume a VA loan. So why would this be a good plan for somebody buying? Well, right now there's a lot of these 2.25% interest rate loans being created for veterans. I heard about another one yesterday that a loan officer was doing, and he was talking about, we got him a rate at 2.25. We had to buy it down. I mean, didn't even have to buy that down not just too long ago. So the pretty incredible rate. If rates go to 5 or 6 and I'm buying a house, would I rather start picking up on somebody else's mortgage, pay that lower interest rate on what they've been paying on for 5 or 6 years and pay them some equity? Or do I want to start over with a brand new mortgage, get it at 6%, no matter whether it's conventional or FHA or VA, and end up having to pay that over a long period of time? Well, it's literally going to save you thousands of dollars in money if you have the ability to assume. Now, the assumption does imply that you're going to have to be qualified by the current servicer. The current servicer is going to check to see your credit and see if you're, capable of making the payment.
Well, here's the big question, Tom. Do they have to be a veteran?
They don't. You would let a veteran assume your loan if you wanted to try to get your eligibility reinstated. That's when you would want to seek and just say, well, the only person I will let assume this is another veteran. But VA loans, technically, by their nature, as FHA loans are 100% assumable with lender's approval.
And you remember years ago, 15, 20 years back, assumable was a big selling tool because, it was in the 80s when interest rates were as high as 14% for a house. and
Sure.
then they drop down into 7, 8, 9, 10%. And you're thinking, well, it's been 14 before, it might go back up. Well, I have a 7% loan here, and all of a sudden you have a hot potato.
And you perfectly described the first house I bought. The first house I bought, I assumed an FHA loan at 7%.
Yep.
Current market rates at that time were 13.5.
There you go. That's exactly what. Yep.
I mean, and I was just like in hog heaven because everybody buying hog heaven. That's me, Tom. But
Arkansas.
that would be. That's, yeah, you can tell I'm a farmer family somewhere background here. But the reality was that when I assumed that loan, everybody else was paying another $200 or $300 to get a new loan in principal and interest over what I paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I know, a lot of people in my family over the years, and I've gone through that personally. And of course, being in real estate, the difference I think now is, the interest rates are pretty low. I mean, that's as low as we've seen them in our lifetimes. And, we'll see where the assumable part of that goes. At some point, it's going to matter again.
yeah.
And, that point isn't today or tomorrow probably, but it will matter. If you're 25 years old and you bought your first house and you have a 2.5%, 3% interest, well, you know what? In 10, 15 years, when you're ready to upgrade or move on or whatever, and interest rates are 5 or 6%, I want to be that realtor that sells that house.
No joke.
I mean, I will be like,
It'll be attractive.
Yeah.
It really, and what it will also do is probably afford the seller of that house to be able to ask more for equity.
Absolutely. Yeah, good point there.
Once you start doing the math on those things, it's like, well, I can give you a little bit more in equity because I'm going to save so much over the long run in the interest payments I would pay on a new mortgage.
So help our listeners understand, what is the benefit? Why would I want to sell my home? I see the benefit on the purchaser side, but why would I do my home or sell my home that way as a veteran?
Well, and I think I just stated it, actually, the underlying deal. If Alan's the listing agent on that, he's going to turn to you, Blair, and say, look, we could actually probably ask an extra $10,000 for this. Keep in mind, the person that's buying that house does have to come up with equity. So that person coming up with this chunk of change, because they're buying the loan that you currently have and you've been paying down on it, they're going to come in with that chunk of change. Alan might ask an extra $10,000. There's no appraisal involved with this.
That's the beauty.
So there's no appraisal for it. Your seller gets more equity. And if they have what they call contingent liability in these circumstances, and I need to check on my guidance on this, but I believe it's still 5 years as far as contingent liability. And if the veteran ran into a circumstance where that loan was being defaulted on in the first 5 years, they can go back in and repossess the house. Now, they would have to make up the difference, so that money that they made, that extra money they made, they need to keep it around cash for a rainy day so they could get the house back. But then if they were, then they'd sell the house and make more money on it, which pretty much doesn't happen. Your risk is really mitigated because why? When they bought the house, they put down this chunk of change. So they've got equity. Even if I get and lose my job, I'm not going to sit there and go, well, the heck with it. I'll just walk away from $40,000 or $30,000 of equity. I'm going to sell the house. So again, it really mitigates the risk for the person where the loan's being assumed, but allows them to make more money.
Well, we are running out of time, and one of the things I wanted to hit on before we get off here is additionally for here in Texas. One is, of course, we have here that no other state has that I'm aware of, Tom, and you can validate or tell me, but we have the Texas Veteran Land Board, the TVLB, and that allows you to use your VA benefit to buy land only. Undeveloped purchasing of land through the TVLB. It's like a commercial loan product, but you're buying land. You're buying a piece of Texas, and you're able to use your VA benefit. Now, that is, again, a great benefit here if you're a hunter or you want to buy leasing rights or something along that line. But the Texas Veteran Land Board is a benefit, and they do a good job of making sure veterans are taken care of and aware of their benefits. Some of the other, I want to bring out, I think one of the key things for here in Texas, didn't know if you knew this, but there's 1,300 VA facilities around the country, and 88 of them are located here in Texas. 88 VA help locations. And so it's across Texas. Again, we've got Gulf War veterans all the way back to World War II veterans, Korean War, Vietnam, and peacetime veterans living here. And with a large group of 65 and over, that is probably, we're almost 40% of that 1.5 million are over 65. That is a group of people that, one, need those resources here in Texas, but two, deserve that. One of the huge things about disabled veterans, did you know that we received it's called a super PAC. You receive all federal parks, gaming, fishing licenses for free. All of it.
Rip off.
Oh, come on.
Man.
It's a great benefit.
Yeah.
You don't know how to fish.
But for us fisher people,
well, I will say,
why do I have to pay for mine?
Well, I have a serious question here before we get done.
okay.
So,
I
having done
didn't
all the
catch
research,
those fish if I was in the military. I'm sorry, I'm still processing this. Go ahead, Alan. I apologize.
having done all the research for my World War II dad, we had to get him someplace, and then you just hit the thing on the head, Blair. You said 65 and over is a big percentage of the veterans.
Yep.
Well, obviously things have changed. There's not near as many people, I don't think, serving. There was no World War III yet, and I know there are Iraq and Afghanistan, but those numbers are going to decrease as the baby boomers die, and so I wonder what changes have happened with the VA benefits going forward when, I guess, less of a gene pool might be the bad word, but less veterans. I think that's inevitable, is it not?
Well, I don't think the VA benefits will disappear or change. What you're seeing is you'll have a decreased cost in that federal government costing pool as the lifetime of those veterans deplete. But again, those benefits are there and they have earned them, in my opinion. We have cemeteries here, that federal cemeteries across Texas. I believe there's 8 of them that we're able to be buried for free, no cost. That's $15,000 to $20,000 with honors right there, and you're able to have your spouse buried with you. There's well-kept parks and so forth that are available for veterans. So I don't see a decrease. I do see a decrease in cost, but I still want these veteran benefits available to these Gulf War II veterans that are coming back, still serving. I've got a good friend that his son is coming home on December 1st from Egypt, and he actually, as a lieutenant, was in command of his infantry company right there in Egypt, surrounded by right on the border, and a very important strategic position. And again, Texas National Guard helped develop and support that unit going forward. I want them to be able to have those benefits as they come back, and they'll come back through El Paso. So,
one last quick question. How can a veteran find out if they have what VA benefits are? What's the best way to do that if you're a veteran and you're getting ready to, maybe think about using benefits?
Talk to a veteran. Call me. That's the best way. That is the number one way.
Yeah.
2, you can do your internet search for veteran benefits in Texas, but it's going to be a large thing. Talk to a veteran that has been through it. And me getting my disability rating, going through the process, I'll be honest, I did not understand it going into it, but boy, it was phenomenal. I had a great experience, still have a great experience receiving medical benefits here. All of that it's a great resource. So I would talk to a veteran who is a disabled vet that has been through and understands. I mean, getting my license plates changed was a huge benefit because it saved me over $120 on my trip to San Diego, because I parked my car right at the terminal. And as soon as I left, I showed them that and the DV plates, and no bill. No
There's a
bill.
serious amount of people, serious amount of veterans that they've never experienced any benefits. They have the fishing or the what you just said, the whatever you just said.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Well, talk to a veteran. Call me up. I'll be glad to talk with you about those benefits, discuss anything I can answer, or tell you where to go to get those answers, just like other veterans did for me. And so please take your benefits seriously. I hope this has been a helpful show. Maybe we need to do one again in the near future with some other vets on here. But I just believe Texas has done a great job. And my daughter asked me out in San Diego, why haven't you moved out of Texas? I said, the bottom line is the benefits here for me are better than anywhere in the country. And I'm including Alaska and Hawaii in that. Cost of living, as well as services to us as veterans. That's why 100,000 plus veterans a year move into Texas. So I hope this has helped. I'm Blair Thomas.
And I'm Tom Holm.
And I'm Alan Pace.
God bless. Have a great time and get out there and vote.